What is up, you absolute nerds? How is everybody doing today? Hope you're all doing just absolutely amazing. Oh no, I don't have you pulled up properly. Give me a second, give me a second. I just need to do. Twitch chat overlay. There it is, there it is. Be patient, don't panic yet, chat. There's no need to panic. It's okay, everything's gonna be okay. There we are. Okay. Hello. Thank you, Savvy Addy, for getting first, apparently. I don't know how you managed it or how long you had to fight for it, but you know, well done. And let's see who, and thank you, Dwarf, for also getting first. And Pink, hello. Thank you for getting second. And Nia, thank you for getting third. How are you? Don't panic. You shouldn't panic. I mean, chat, you are a bunch of nerds. You cannot say you're not a bunch of nerds, right? Like, I mean, like, look at you. Just hello, Sleepy Mia. How you doing? Hello, Dwarf. Good to see you. They might tell you otherwise, but I'll always be the true first. Hello, Carmia. Hello, Ocean, which I'm still not pronouncing right. Gibbets, what did you say? Bap, bad, dum. Badam, dum. Bam, Why? Hello, Iko. Lovely to see you. Have you seen yourself the #1 nerd here? Well, you know what? I'm leaving then. I'm just gonna go. Oh wait, you can. No, I'm going. Bye. I'm gone. Wait. I go. No. Setting things on fire. No setting things on fire. You know better than that. Don't set things on fire. Why would you set things on fire? I need my things, chat. I need my things. How am I supposed to stream without things, okay? Trying to get away being a hypocrite. What do you mean? What did I do? Huh? I've done nothing. Chat, the least nerd position of playing Dungeons and Dragons is being the DM. Do you know how much work that takes? Do you know how much stuff you have to put together? I mean, why am I laggy? Or am I just moving goofy? I think, oh, nope, there's some lag. What is happening? Chat? What are you doing to me? Chat's making me lag. I can't believe it, chat. Why would you do this? Huh? What is happening here? Okay. One second. We're going to move you. There we go. Okay, can you see me? There we are. Okay. Hi. Sorry. What were we talking about? Oh, shit. Shrink. There we go. It's my farts that's like, don't wait, Nia! Rude, how dare you? Okay, also, hello, Cian, hello, Carmia, hello, Aiko, hello, Savvy, hello, King Dazzy. Gene, do you know that you are linked to custom audio downloads on your card, just links directly back to your card and goes nowhere? I do. Why, were you wanting a custom audio? I mean, technically, I originally had something set up there so that you could donate to me through Ko-fi and then request a custom audio. But you know, if you want a custom audio, you can always hit me up on Twitter DMs. Anyways, let's see, Gina. I'm currently on the train. They changed the rules and allowed phones for the Luna Park trip, so I'm Hey, congratulations, Anya. I totally didn't try. Carmia, were you looking for a custom audio as well? Why were multiple people trying to get custom? Okay. I'll reopen the custom audios. Okay, just for all of you, we'll reopen the custom audios, and we'll figure it out. Okay, just put it in stream. Put it in my stream ideas, and put it in my stream ideas. Carmia, lovely, please, and I will look into it. I probably am going to open the Patreon soon anyway, so that's fine. Can't let him know I want one too. Honestly, it's intentional now. Also, who else is Camp Rock 3? That sounds kind of sick, actually. I was talking about something else. Stealing your plan? Don't steal my plan. What plan? What plan? What plan? I feel like I missed something. Hello, Aiko. Don't call me Gramps. God, I'm slowly trying to catch up to chat. No, I'm a little slow. Jay is slow. Hi, Jay. How you doing? Hi, Casey. Vanya's here. Hello, Vanya. Love you. Hello, Aura. Hello, Pinky. Hello, Dar, if you're also here. Mr. DM over here trying to get... We're talking about how much you love fart. Excuse me? No, you don't. I don't need it. I'm just... No. How much I love farts? What do you mean? Where is this slander coming from? Where is this slander coming from? Huh? 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 Slander. Slander. Stop it. How dare you? Drunk your sock water, Jay did what? Anyways, now that we started completely chaotic, hello Desi, hello Yuki, hello Andromeda, and everybody I didn't say hi to, I do apologize. I keep getting distracted because you all say some fucking unhinged things. What is with you all? She confessed to it in Hoshi's stream. That's fair. That's fair. I would confess things to in Hoshi's stream, especially things I hadn't done. Hi Neeks, how you doing? But I hope you're doing lovely, Desi. Chat is reflection of the street. What drugs is everybody on today? Chat. If you're on a drug right now, please tell me. And also, I would love some right now. I could use it so badly. Maybe I should smoke a little. Hi, Lynx. Cheers. Okay. Jay, stop eating cornstarch. Jay, I'm firing you. Oh, shit. Chat. All right, chat. I'm gonna go limp for a second. I need to grab a package. Stay there. Stay there. Don't move. Lychee! Mwah! Don't move. I found it. Okay. I'm still here. Jibbits, what are you talking about? It's not what it's not. It's not a clicker, chat. It's not a clicker, okay? It's 2 clickers. I have 2 clickers now. So chat. Pay attention. Pay attention. Hey. Sit. Behave yourself. Carmia, come back here. So now if I need chat's attention, well, we have a way of doing it. I'm gonna put this on my wrist, and if chat gets too rambunctious or we have somebody flirting too much, let's go down. Behave yourself. Okay? And a reminder, if you need to have personal conversations with somebody or are just so fucking thirsty that you need to flirt here in the chat, OBS has whispers, y'all. OBS has whispers. You can communicate directly. I don't want to be part of your private conversation. Please. Just saying, there's a certain... Oh my god, Jet, really? Really? Okay, click on somebody right now. Here. Click on somebody in the thing. If you click on their name, you should be able to bring up a whisper. I think also if I do this /W, and we're going to try this real quick. We're going to try this real quick. Okay, yeah. No, you have to use a whisper window. But yes. So yes, whispering is a thing you can do through OBS. Twitch. Twitch has its own thing. Thank you, King Dazzy. I realize not what you're saying. Twitch has its own way of conversing between y'all. OBS is the program I use for streaming. Doesn't matter. Twitch has a function called Whispers for DMs. So if y'all need to talk privately, or y'all super flirty, or whatever, y'all can do it there. Okay. Can we agree on this, by the way? I'm gonna need a yes. Come on. Come on, chat. Say yes. Good, chat. So proud of you. Look at you. Oh, look at you. But yeah, no, I mean, most of you are fine. Most of you are fine. I just want this, like, to be known in advance that I will call people out for flirting, especially if it goes, like, so off topic. Like, I don't mind y'all hitting on each other and flirting with me. But, like, if y'all are having a personal conversation here, then I am going to take care of it. I'm just saying. I'm either going to pull you up in front of the class and say y'all can flirt in front of everybody, or I'll time you out and you can go have fun on your own. There. All right, I'm happy now. You're happy. And today we're doing a dating sim, so y'all can enjoy that. Yes, I will pull you up in front of the class and be like, hey, stop it. Stop it. This is my stream. We flirt with me. Well, we've only been playing one dating sim, and I still haven't beaten it. So, because there's been enough... because there has been enough complaints that Gene doesn't ever finish games, do you know what I'm going to play today? Am I good? Emotionally or physically? Because no. The only dating sim that I've been readily play date everything. Date everything. It's also the only one I have installed right now. We could do a date with death, but date everything. Thank you for the work, Allie. I've been enjoying date everything, and I have a clicker now. I will also use this for my own attention. I think we finished the Volt and Eddie arc. Do you want me to click the... But date with death. You are doing something, Gene? Oh, God, my mouse froze. 1 second. I'm such a good doggy. There you go. You want me to do a click redeem? Well, no. See, chat, we do it over time. Oh, who's a good chat? Proud of you. Yes. Oh my God, I forgot about that. Yeah. Do you know what's funny, chat? I didn't actually get it for y'all. I got the clicker to do some audio recording. So hear me out. This is what you do, okay? Neeks. I've read it. I appreciated it, cutie. So, enjoy your lurk, Lychee. Okay, hear me out. Hear me out. The reason why I got the clicker is for doing music and for doing not audio request, for doing voice recording, okay? You can stay by wall, sure. You'll have to ask Vanya first, though. So, here's what you do. You read a line, and you go blah, 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 and you mess it up, and you do the clicker once. And you read a line again, and if you mess it up again, you do it twice. Because it leaves a spike on your audio that you can go back through to clean up very quickly. So it makes it good for doing audio stuff. But I am going to use it on chat because y'all need it. I have one for chat and one for editing. It's going around the microphone. I'm excited. It is a nice clicking noise too, though, right? Like, it's not too hard. It's not too harsh. All right, chat, sit. Good boy. I know chat is mostly a femme presenting, but I still want to call chat boy. Okay. You ready? It's been a while. Hopefully this game's still fun. Oh, I know I snore. I 100% snore, chat. Sorry to burst anybody's bubble who's like, oh my god, Gene is so amazing. No, I 100% snore. I probably sound like I'm dying, to be honest. No, hear me out. Hear me out. Oh, I'm sorry, Moreau. You're probably getting sick. Go drink some water and take some rest. I like to lay on my back so that I can have a partner like lay on my chest and have my arm around them, you know? And so like that's great and cuddly and cute and sweet until you fall asleep and your head is back, mouth open. You're going to sound like you're dying. So yes, I 100% snore when I'm sleeping. Okay. But I'm still cute and that's all that matters. No, if you open up your mouth and you sleep with your head back, it causes the palate to shift so that you will snore no matter what. But if I sleep on the side, I'm usually fine. Don't ever fall asleep near me. Jay, why would you be in a position where I would have to worry about sleeping near you? what is happening that that I have to worry about snoring around you? All right. Wait, game? Come on, game. Come on, game. Come on, game. Come on, show up. Come on, game. Game, what did I say? Game, where are you? Oh, once. There it is. There it is. Okay. I have plans to make a giant pillow nest at some point in my life. I have done that, chat. Oh, I have done that. I love making giant pillow nests. It's the best. God damn it, Lumi. You coming in here with that right off the bat. I mean, I should have seen that coming from a mile away. I should have heard it. You walking up with them little horse feet. I don't know what that means. Why I'm accusing you of having horse feet, but you know. Maybe. I meant to see Clip clomping like a little horsey, but you know. Now you got horse feet. All right, chat. Game? You're saving up for Leo. Man, why would you want Leo? Man, is G not good? Chat, is G not good enough for you? Is that what it is? Y'all need somebody else. Y'all can't handle Gene. I've got a gifted sub here, and then I come check it out, and you immediately scuff the mark of a true streamer. Hillian! You're absolutely correct. I am absolutely scuffed 24/7. How you doing? I don't know what I'm doing, actually. He's my favorite streamer. No one else is needed. Thank you for the follow. I love that you're subbed before following. Oh, right. And I forgot to turn the browser sounds on. Give me a second here. There we go. It's true, chat. You should not need any other streamer but me.
Oh, my love.
I forgot we're dating already. I'm going to go talk to somebody else. Gene Daddy? The hell's a Gene Daddy? No. We ain't passing by that. Dazzy. Daz. Tell me, sweetie. What would that mean? What would that mean? If I were to be... What's a Gene Daddy? Have I talked to the Shadow? I have talked to the Shadow. God, I've talked to too many things, chat. was trying to forget what I've talked to. We've talked to this stupid clock. Yeah, I don't speak Japanese. No. It can't be Jin Yandere because hear me out. Dere is its own thing, right? It's your whole suffix for them. Caburizo? Who the hell is that? Wait, no. Okay, so a dere is like it's just like a person, right? So you have your qualifications for dere. So yandere is its own thing. Jindere would have to be its own thing. So what is a jindere? It's important to me. Wait, the glitch? Oh no, I have dated the nightmare. Well, we haven't dated the nightmare. I talked to him like once or twice. All right, wait. One thing at a time. What the hell is a cabrizo? Explain to me what a cabrizo is. Desi asked if you met Doug. Who's Doug? I might have. He's on a dresser. He's the cabinet low. Oh. All right. Wait, the glitch is on the dresser in the bedroom. Oh, wait, where? Not the clock. This thing here. Oh, yeah, we dated Doug. We did date Doug. I guess let's try this thing out. What the hell is this?
A strange figure stands before you, a whirlwind of conflicting energies and vibes. Manic and dignified, friendly and intimidating.
Oh, but I like her, though.
Like some sort of quasi-Victorian text-themed...
But I like her a lot, chat. Oh my God, look at her. What we're doing? Moreau, I'm doing Southern right now. You gotta wait one more minute and then I'll get to Leo. You gotta wait for it. I can't do both voices at the same time, sweetie. A strange figure stands before you, a whirlwind of conflicting energies and vibes, manic and dignified, friendly and intimidating. She's dressed like... Oh, he just said this. Right. You know, we're doing great, chat.
I couldn't have imagined what the date theaters might make of your thoughts transcribed on paper, but if you could, it likely would not have been this.
No. Helene, this is my normal voice. Hi, lovely to meet you. My name's LuckyJene, and I hope you enjoy your time here. No, I go through the Southern. We have the Germans that we do here, and then I have the Southern if I want to do it. And we have some other ones that I do as well, but you know those ones ain't paid for yet. You couldn't.
As you approach her, she launches right into what feels like the middle of a one-sided conversation.
Ooh, I'm ready for this.
But the blue one, and then the butterfly. Why is there so much sand? Ugh.
All right, wait, no, I'm in love with her.
Why is there always sand in places where sand should never be?
Okay, and yes, we can swap now. Is this what you wanted? Why is there sand where sand should never be? Wow, I really don't need the craziness right now. You're so weird, I'm totally into it. You are so weird, and I'm totally into it. It's true, it's very true.
Into one thing is out of another, and on until you're dizzy and there's nobody to catch you because the basketball game started late.
Shit. Oh yeah. Sports, they suck.
Suck? Oh, come on. Have you ever actually thought about a straw?
I think about straws all the time, actually.
I used one once after they took those teeth away.
Why'd they take your teeth away?
No, that's not right. I wanted to, but they told me I would bleed if I did bleed.
Is it a problem that I'm very, very attracted to this? Is it a problem that I'm very, very attracted to this? Because...
But it wasn't me. I counted my teeth. And they're all there.
Wait a second, chat. Okay, wait, chat. Come here. Everybody pay attention. We're good. Everyone here? Good. We're back into this.
Thoughts, on the other hand.
Do you know what I think the issue is? I think the music is too loud. It's overwhelming me.
Off, people. Start the count again.
Wisdom sees. Yes, they said that to me too, kind of.
Ah, wisdom. What an overrated quality.
I agree.
Quality. Boil me up. Quality, but it's cheap and ill-fitting, and you're gonna throw it out in a month. It's okay to stare at my chest if I'm making a point.
Somebody writes that line down.
A feminist point. The point of a nipple through the shirt, but if I've noticed it, aren't I the bad guy? Even if I'm not a guy, I don't think. I'm tired. I'm a tired feminist. I'll come back again when I've rested and grown my armor back.
Yes, yes. Okay, so the music is way too loud for this. We need to turn this down. Perfect. Okay. Because the music is the same volume as her voice. That is what the issue was there. It's overwhelming, you know? Can we fix this? Where's the audio? Settings. There it is. Okay, give me a second. Yeah, why is the music volume? Music volume needs to be half of that. SFX, maybe a little bit less. Master volume's fine. Voiceover volume, perfect. This is what we're looking for, okay? But yes, you can stare at my chest if I'm making a point. Because of the nipples. Wait a second. What was her name? I have absolutely no clue. Oh, I'm so lost now. Okay. What's a... Diana. What a lovely little name. Okay, now we're going to talk to makeup, because I love the makeup.
Well, hello again, darling. Absolutely fab to be in your lumescent company again. What's new with you? I hope all is gorgeous.
It was paper, Aiko. Hi again, Barry. You're gorgeous.
I am indeed.
Oh, you indeed.
So, since we last chatted, I memorized the hex codes of all my favorite shades of pink. And then I forgot them.
Isn't this so much better now? We can actually hear what's going on. Okay, I feel better. Does everybody else feel good too? Is the volume good for everybody? Or is it just me? We have to make sure everybody's on the same page here. Yes,
I was
good,
supposed
good,
to be
good, good.
organizing all my color palettes before I got distracted by thinking about pink things and trying to name all the stuff I know that's pink.
Good volume, good volume. Yeah.
So, anyway, if you were thinking of going with the Smile Republic Berry Red eyeshadow today, I apologize in advance for not knowing where it is.
I love his little arms thing where he's checking skin tones. Okay, you have a lot going on in that brain, don't you?
I suppose I do, which is funny.
That is not a hat,
if you asked
Pinky.
me, I'd say my head's
That
empty
is
most of the
his
time.
hair. Or their hair. I cannot remember.
Get enough things that it should be, but the moment a thought's gone, the space immediately gets filled up with something else.
No, that's his heart.
Well, that reminds me. I was actually going to ask if you could help me with that.
It's okay, Pinky. He's for the girlies.
From the
Und
color
me.
coordination on your amazing outfit alone, it's clear you're far, far, far more level-headed than I am, darling, and
Chat, I'm wearing orange. I don't know what color he's talking about, but I'm very not much right now.
I'm messier than one gets trying
Orange
to
and
do the
brown.
mascara in the back of a moving taxi.
Same thing that the Super Saiyans use. It's just held up by sheer power. Sounds more like you need Babson and you need me to help clean up the chaos. I wouldn't say I'm a beacon of organization, but I can do my best to help.
If you're offering, I'd absolutely love the help, sweetie.
I love them too.
Lately, I've just found it really, really hard to focus on anything. You know, I realized after we spoke last time that I actually can't remember what we talked about. Like, I have little flickers of the conversation.
Okay, wait a second.
Like
Honey.
snapshots almost, but you were really interesting, and I enjoyed chatting, and I feel awful that I can't remember
No!
anything as if you
This
weren't,
feels
and I
awful.
Barry falls silent, the weight of his confession clearly getting to him.
You'll ever have that? Where you have like a full-on conversation with someone, you just can't remember anything afterwards? Don't worry, it was just a couch chat. Barry, it's okay not to remember everything. Barry, it's okay not to remember everything. I don't think forgetting the details of a conversation is that terrible of a thing to do.
It's more than that, though. For example, if I watched a movie, do you know how much I'd remember by the time we hit the credits? Same thing, just snapshots.
Wait a second, this is getting too
Maybe
real.
a line or two for a while, but it can be more important stuff than that too. It could be the happiest day of my life, and I'd
no.
still walk away with cliff notes that'll fade in no time at all.
Oh,
Feels like
no.
my brain robs from itself.
No, this is hitting
Takes
too...
away the things I experience and leaves an outline in its place.
This is too real. Chat, we have to talk to somebody else.
Feel life crumbling away behind me like a particularly cheap liner pen. Thank you. It makes me feel really bad.
Addie, pay attention.
Guilty sometimes, like it's not exactly respectful to forget people's names the 5th time you've heard them, or constantly fail to honor commitments because you lose all track of them. Or
Yeah.
get told something really important and meaningful, something you should really truly treasure, and just lose it.
Yeah.
And again, my stupid brain's a steel trap for stuff that's totally not all that important. It's just whatever silly thing I'm mega focused on at the time.
Yeah.
I once learned a whole bunch of meaningless facts about Herne Bay in Kent. At one point, I could quote you every line of I Want to Be Your Gunnery, or give you the history of the pinball machine.
Chat, I have never read a single one of the Warhammer books or really played much of the games, and I could quote you the entirety of all of their gods, how they work, the backstory of the Empire or the Emperor, going back to some like really unknown shiz, and so many of the different like species in the Warhammer universe. I've never played Warhammer. I don't. I just sat on the wiki one day.
Until I got bored and forgot.
Okay, so hyperfixate things make stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Your hyperfixation on things makes sense that you'd remember that stuff.
The only thing that ever really stays is the thing I talk people's ears off about all the time. Cosmetics, product, makeup, and skincare, all that glitz.
Warhammer 40K is a dark sci-fi universe that has several books, several games, and it's all about the Empire of Man and its struggle to survive in a unforgiving galaxy plagued by gods of chaos, other alien species, and, well, humanity itself. It is a mix of very dark, gritty mysticism and sci-fi and fantasy that just coalesces into a crazy universe where demons, great gods, are formed from desires and enough emotional energies, and humanity is kept alive by a super powerful skeleton. Isn't Warhammer that Star Wars spinoff? No. Dazzy. Front and center. Front and center, sweetie. Bad, Dazzy. Bad. Yes, Moss. Yes, Dwarf. It is. It is a series of books. It is video games. It is primarily a tabletop battle sim game. As in, you have a battlefield, you have hundreds of dollars worth of little plastic figures, and they shoot at each other across the field. It started as a Dungeons and Dragons type thing, where they made Warhammer, which was like a gritty version of Dungeons and Dragons. But they have video games, they have books, they have a bunch of stuff. And yes, a skeleton. Well, no, I don't. That's not. It's not a game to play. I can teach you the lore. I would not suggest playing it unless you want to spend a bunch of money, or you want to shoot characters across a battlefield. Like here's how the game goes, chat. Okay, we're gonna explain this really. Damn it! I hit the wrong button. No, I hit the right button. Move. There we go. Okay. So you have a battalion of soldiers. Okay, a bunch of little plastic figures that you cut apart, glued together, strapped guns onto, and you put them down. Each one of these little plastic characters have rules, as in they can move a certain distance across the battlefield, and you use a freaking mini measuring tape to decide where they go. And then they have different attacks. And so you have an army, the opposing player has an army, and you play with these plastic soldiers on a battlefield across from each other. The plastic soldiers cost hundreds of dollars to get a full battalion. It's crazy. Yeah. I like the lore a lot more. I'd play it, sure. But I like the lore a lot more. Because I like the idea of, like, there was space elves who fucked so much and had such crazy sex that they made a god that killed 2/3 of them. Right? Right? Slanesh. Slanesh, the goddess of lust, is a god of chaos. What are they called? I think they're called the Eldar. No, not the Eldar. It's a different one. Fuck. What are they called? One second. Let me look up the space elves names. Space elves, Warhammer. Wait. Oh, they are the Eldar. I'm sorry, chat. I was wrong. They're the Eldar. So the Eldar. I'm explaining Warhammer lore. So the Eldar are space elves, and basically, like, they got super good at everything, and they got bored. And so what did they do because they're wealthy, bored, and had all this time? They started having sex. And so they boinked a bunch, and they kept boinking and boinking and boinking. And they got more and more crazy with their boinking, to the point that people, like, died during orgies. And it got so intense and the psychic energy built up so much that the goddess Slanesh was birthed from the chaos of horniness. And so now Slanesh exists out there, spreading more horniness and debauchery. Oh, 2/3 of the Eldar died. Most of the Eldar died during the creation of the god. And she's hot. And like half the people like in her armies are like insane lust monstrosities. Anyways, back to a cute dating game.
I'm never not fascinated by the things we style ourselves with, and I guess that's what makes Barry Styles Barry Styles. It's what I can remember, so that's me. Pretty ironic, darling. The closest thing to my heart is only skin deep.
I don't know why I explained that to you, Jet. I don't know why I explained that to you. I'm never going to bring this up ever again. Oh, hydrate. Sorry. Cheers.
Barry gives you a warm smile.
Oh, that's right.
That's a lovely way of looking at it. Beautiful perspective.
Dazzy. Dazzy, the only hammering I'm about to do is against your forehead. Come here.
Oh, yes! I forgot that's what actually started this.
Knowledge trebling. Wait.
Like,
First impression. Right, sorry. Hi, everybody. I'm a super energetic, hyperactive, fun VTuber. Look at me do the thing. Screaming, chaos, Shit, what do the popular people do again? Who's popular right now? Chat. How do I be a good VTuber? Womp. Kenji? I can't compare to Kenji. Don't. My tits aren't big enough. Fuck. Chat, I need bigger tits. And I can't be a femboy. What is left of me, chat? Be alive? I can be alive. I will try that one. I can do what Cottontail does. Porn. Wait, no, I can't do that here. They also do voices. And I did voices. I did it. I'm Cottontail. Chat, meet me. I'm Cottontail. That means I have to have a cool scene, though. I have to call somebody a good girl. Because that happened today. I got distracted. What were we doing? 1 second. All right, I'm back. You don't know what Cottontail is? What do you mean you don't know what Cottontail is? We had a whole Cottontail arc, chat. No. We were in this to... Hands go away. We were in this together, chat. Do you not remember this? We raided into Cottontail. Cottontail's like, oh, hey, I have to do the raidy thingy. And then Cottontail, hey, thank you for the follow. Cottontail, like, okay. And then she changes scenes, changes models. And she goes, like a boyish, like tomboyish voice, being like, I need to check you all to see if you're zombies. And then she booped us. She booped the chat to be like, are you a zombie? And then it was so cool, and the voice was amazing, and the model was sick, and it was a whole different vibe for like 30 seconds or maybe like a whole minute or a couple minutes. And then I DM'd Cottontail to be like, hey, can I steal that bit? So when people raid, I can do that. And then Cottontail didn't say anything at first, and then later on she's like, yeah, of course you can do that. Just tell me about it, and like show it to me when you do it. And I'm like, oh, that's so sick. And then I haven't done it because I'm a coward, because then I have to show Cottontail. And that's fine, Savvy. You're right, actually. Chat, no one's allowed to watch anybody else get back in the basement. Oh, there's Aura. You're late. Somebody spray Aura for me. Anyways. Way back, you called someone a good girl in IRL? No. I mean, I have. No, not spay Aura. Not spay Aura. How are we going to have more mods if we spay all the mods, chat? That's counterproductive. I'm only hiring couples from now on. Well, it seems that to me that you can't spay and neuter somebody. No, we're talking about this. I'm never going to get anyone in this game. You spay or you neuter. You can't spay and neuter. Those are two different actions for two different genders. So you can't spay and neuter something. You can. The reason why they say spay and neuter is because you spay and neuter your pets, as in any gender. You can murder your sinuses, but you can't spay and neuter one thing unless they have both parts. Unless they have both parts. All right, do you have both? Wonder Banana Man, welcome to my... What is everybody's first impression today? Okay, well, you know what? It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. We'll play the game. Hello, Wonder Banana Man. I like your emote.
How do you mean, hun?
I don't know how to answer that stuff. Really, stuff goes on, stuff don't go out. This is my son always, but write things down. No contributing to the child population, chat. Oh, I mean, you know what makes better? So did we get... So did you get spayed and neutered by Cottontail for being a zombie? With a warhammer? No. Dazzy, you make my brain hurt. I hope you know that.
All sorts of things.
Well, you'll feel better eventually. You can't contribute to the trout population every time something goes bad, because then it's never going to get better.
Yes, of course, darling. It's so obvious. Yet I never actually do it. Sometimes I think to do it, but then I just
What's wrong,
don't.
Gibbets? Come ask me.
Too much, or I convince myself I don't need to. But
I get that, Barry.
I do need to, don't I?
Yes, it's very easy to say that you do need to, though.
Heck, even if I forget to bring a notepad, I'm literally never more than 2 inches away from a liner pen in my own arms.
I should start writing things on my arms.
Oh, like I could use the orange eyeshadow as a highlighter for super important notes, because it's a lovely shade and it's always left unused on
There
the
you go.
palette. And I have this red ink liner that's always been too splodgy for lips, but oh, it looks
And having
gorgeous
explained my
on
verse to a bunch of friends, I forgot that not everyone reads what I read. Casey, that's insane.
I didn't even think about how fabulous the book itself could look.
Aw. Good boy, Dazzy. Good boy.
I'm getting giddy just thinking about glittering up a notebook, like giving my own memories a makeover. This is brilliant. This is just brilliant. Thank you so much.
I'm delighted to have helped. Okay, I need to eat this biscuit one sec.
Absolutely must get to work.
Stop writing down notes, Illian. Who are you? Who are you writing notes for? Am I? Are you gonna report? Are you reporting back to somebody? Addie. I saw that. I saw that. Chat, I'm just gonna start spraying you. That's what it is. Are we talking to these boxes? All right, chat. Who am I talking to? Somebody can pick anybody. Let's do it. That was a good dog biscuit. Not a dog biscuit. Not a dog biscuit. Not a dog biscuit. It was a normal biscuit. It was a normal biscuit. I didn't mean to say the money check. I think bork, don't bork me. Wait, I want to see. Can we find the? I didn't put these ears on my head. They just appeared one day, and now I can't get rid of them. And I don't know what to do about it. All right, see if we can. Pink, I've said hi to you a few times now, but you just haven't responded. I say hi to you every time I see your name. I'm not cutting them off. Wait. Is this the one? No, it's here somewhere. Stretch and hydrate. Thank you. I'm looking for something very specific. It's here somewhere. We'll hear it. Not the cabinet. No, I don't have any dog treats. Not the wall. Do we have another one of these? Oh my god, we do have another one of these. Okay. I'm such a good doggy, and I'm such a good doggy, apparently. Even though it's a lie. How's that one? Hello, talk to the wall. Which wall? There's so many walls, chat. I can't talk to all the walls. Okay, wait. Is it here? I think it might be here, chat. No, that's not it. That's not it. They are here somewhere. Not in there. Aha! I hear it! That was a car. It was a KFC biscuit. Okay. Which cabinet? Okay, fine. Which cabinet did you want me to talk to? Which cabinet did you want me to talk to? I swear I hear them. Aha! Wait a second. They're here. Where are they? Okay, I must turn off this music for a second. Not the vent specifically. Gene, I think you need to go into the dating mode first. Maybe? But I thought I would see them. Okay, wait, so it's not this one. It's not that one. It's not that one. So there has to be a vent in here. Is there not a vent in here? Not that one. Why are they so sneaky? You're so lost. Don't worry about it. You will see them. Not there. Okay, maybe we're just going to do this here. Not there. The wall behind the white stuff. What do you mean? No, I can hear them. Is that... There's not enough stairs, is there? Oh, wait a second. Wait a second. Wait a second. Aha! Is it this one? Turn around. What are we talking about? No, I'm not talking about Wallace. Not Wallace. There is somebody more important. There is somebody more important. But they are difficult to find. There we go, Moreau got it. You saw them in the hallway. What do you mean you saw them in the hallway? Where? There's no vent here. The air in the article. What do you mean? Oh, and moment. We need the music. The music. Without the music, I'm starting to go insane again. Yeah, I have not talked to the air in the attic. Wait, do you think I need to talk to this thing? Oh, that's something different. Maybe, no, that's something different altogether. Is it not? Behind the shelf. Okay, wait. Behind the shelf. We'll see what this is.
You are persistent.
No, I didn't want you! Fine, we will talk.
Be damned if it isn't another quality of yours I admire. It wearies me and saddens me to
Was it
say
Milport?
no,
Very no, this gives me.
but no. Please, not here, okay?
Thank you for
Maybe
the
somewhere
look.
else, anywhere else. Any of the greats in your home, downstairs from here. Come to any of them, and I will be there. We can talk there. All right?
All right, I hear you. Just show yourself.
I've already told you no. I've told you what to do, how to speak with me. I will not show myself. Some circus animal on a leash trotted out into a claustrophobic arena. What, so you can jeer? So you can point?
I swear his voice used to be
I
different.
tell you, I won't. Wouldn't you? They all do. Never mind. Talk about an argument for nothing. If you leave now, we'll never have to know if you know yourself well enough to be truthful with me about this.
No, Savvy, that's something different. That is something different.
If you would truly leave me in peace,
The blue ball is somebody different.
come back to the Greats and I will be there.
We are very specifically looking for the vent. And one of the vents will have air coming out of it. But I have no idea where that air could be. Maybe if we turn you on. What if I do this? Not there. Okay. There it is! Haha, I found it!
I am Aaron.
We found it, chat. I did it.
The air you breathe.
And the Gargants loves now. Ah, she's cute.
From the moment your existence was fiercely ripped from the great void, I have been there. During every breath,
Don't worry about it.
every heartbeat.
I was eating a biscuit.
Every chittering shudder that marks the high and low points of your life.
God, isn't she so pretty? I like having you inside of me. Damn, that's cool.
I do not care what you think.
Rude!
You mean very little to me, human.
Also hot.
In my current state in this hovel, I am an admixture of several elements that provide your lungs the capacity to transport oxygen through your bloodstream. But had we met several million years ago, you would not have been able to survive for more than a few moments before my intoxicating melange would annihilate you.
My intoxicating melange would annihilate you.
I shift with the wind. I melt with the tides. I shield this rock with a layer of fragrant bloom.
Oh, yeah, she does. Sparta! Wait, no. Never thought of her that way.
I have never thought of you.
Why is that hot? Why is that hot? Ah, chat. I have problems. I have All right, let's talk to the wall.
How does one even describe a warrior like this? A veritable, well, wall of muscle stands before
Thank you, Hillian.
It's almost comforting to know the walls of your house are this solid.
What's up, thick boy?
Wall,
Whoa.
wall, wall,
Whoa, whoa.
wall, wall, wall.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Wall. I knew it. Whoa.
The warrior's eyes widen. He leans in closer, towering over you.
Ad break. Whoa. Whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
He throws his head back in a belly laugh that echoes through the house. Whoa!
Whoa.
He beams at you, a flush spreading across his cheeks. I love you!
Wait. Excuse me. Hey. No, that's not wall. That's not wall. Bad. Whoa. I love you. Oh, there's the wall. Whoa. Whoa. Whoa.
Oh, that was sudden, wasn't it? You and Wallace, who has only just introduced himself to you, are now lovers. His
Whoa.
gaze settles on you.
Whoa,
filled
whoa,
with
whoa.
tenderness.
Whoa. Whoa.
His drywall heart beats only for you. You live happily ever after.
Oh.
Yes, just that quickly.
Okay. Did it. Yay. Anyways, time to be sad. Chat, you ready to be sad? Fuck. Hey, Zoe. You there? If you can hear me, let me know.
Hey, yeah, I can hear you. Sorry about the other day.
Leave in the trench.
I was just so sad.
Yeah, you're a ghost who doesn't have
It
anything.
is good to see you, though. And I'm feeling a little better. There was the cutest bird in the windowsill this morning.
Eat your chips, Snowy. Eat your
Have
chips.
you ever realized that the way birds poop is just totally insane? Like, it's just random. They poop whenever, wherever, all the time.
Yeah, me too. They're not special.
Can you imagine going through life like that? I mean, I don't have to worry about pooping because I'm a ghost and I don't have bowels and I don't eat, but like, what if it was you?
Huh? What?
That would be so crazy. You just walk around like leaking.
Don't worry about it, chat. I'm
That'd be
kidding,
so
chat.
weird.
I don't poop in random places. Stop taking notes. Who are you reporting to? Somebody, take Hillian's notepad. Take Hillian's notepad and just lock him in the basement, please. Thank you. Leaking. Ew.
I know! Don't even get me started on snakes. I was thinking about that this morning too. The whole I digest a whole mouse lump in my body thing. Ugh.
Not a dog chat.
I have an idea.
Never change, Zoe.
Yep. Yep, that's all good. Keep me on track here. I have an idea.
Zoe, pay attention. About what?
I've been thinking about where I should go next.
You're too late. The notebook has been consumed.
Should I find out what my next adventure is? Like, actually die?
Girl, I would never, but if it's you, go for it. I
Or
don't.
should I try to come back to a life of sorts and be a real being in the house with guys like the time capsule? And you and your magic glasses.
Shit. Don't make me make me pick this. Hi, would you want me to go into the afterlife and you know, live my life and eventually pass on to the great beyond and maybe just never ever exist again? Or would you want me to be like a furniture piece that I can't. So instead, chat. Guess what? You need to make the decision. We're gonna do. All right. Do. Stay. Don't move on. Beyond sounds peaceful. All right, chat. Y'all have to decide, because I'm not. Please pick for me. Mm-hmm. Thunder, bring her to the ringer. Odysseus. All right, chat, what did you pick? Let's see what you got. Come on, please be something. Wow. Ooh. 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 Thank you, Moonlight. We're going to be doing a cover of Thunderbringer at some point, but I'm also going to be doing a cover of the Oogie Boogie song and the intro to Phantom of the Opera. Phantom of the Opera is going to be a collab, and then the other one I'm going to be doing, Oogie Boogie song, which will probably be done next, because I need to do it for Halloween, will be, you know, in October. Well, what have we here? Santa Claus, huh? Ooh, I'm really scared.
Okay.
Shit.
Well, I had an idea to do a seance to bring me back, but I can stay here and try to go away for good. I'll let you know how it goes.
What? Carnia. Is that a problem? You said really, like, I mean, like, the guy's part is not that difficult, you know. It's just tenor. It's not really get that easy. The Phantom of the Opera. I think I can sing it better than him. It's gonna be great. It was, nice. All right, I'm gonna do this. Nice. All right. Oh, fuck. How do we have nightmares again? Fuck. Why did we do that? Why did we do that? I didn't want her to go. I know why we did it. It's probably better for her, but still. Thank you for the reminder. I wonder what she's up to. Do you think she hates us? She does. I forgot. She does hate us. Oh, and I think he hates us too.
Oh, you're back. Allow me to pull out my Gleeman's cape and cap. For surely you are not here to hear or impart truth. You come for entertainment and spectacle, for razzle-dazzle. Well, I am an empty keg. No more champagne in the bottle.
Do you hate me?
Why, no. I am disappointed.
I don't know what I did. I thought I was doing fine, but he was so difficult.
That status does not fit in your tripartite distinction. Then allow me to speak it plainly. I feel nothing for you in particular. Perhaps a vague sense of waste.
God, what is he, my dad? Oh. You know, I'm gonna make a drink real quick. I'm just gonna mix up a drink real quick. Don't worry about it. That's fine. It's fine. Don't worry. Which is fine. It's fine. Which is just gonna. There we go. Okay, well. Yeah, I got it for coffee. It works really well. I'm actually very happy with it. Oh, I need to make the drawer hate me. Give me a second. God, I hate this man. No, Jerry, you suck. Whoa, there's more stuff than there was before. It doesn't look like you've cleaned it all.
Well, I'm sorry.
Uh-huh.
You said I was supposed to get rid of the things I didn't need. I took the time, and I weighed all my options, but in the end, I just couldn't throw anything away.
I hate this man. I hate this man.
Everything here is special to me.
Even this dead bug?
What if I decide to go into entomology? These things are rare.
Get an expired warranty?
That's the warranty for the calculator in the back of the drawer. I had a lot of fond memories.
God, I don't know why I hate him so much.
Oh, it isn't a warranty to me. The fact that the calculator is broken doesn't change that.
Even loose string.
I'm planning to do a craft with that.
More craft.
A string craft.
Uh-huh.
What's that look? Oh, that's the look of someone who is not happy and wants to say something.
You've got a problem, Jerry.
So what? I never wanted to clean this place anyway. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm not getting rid of anything, and that's that. I'm putting my foot down. Ah! Wow! Stepped on a thumbtack again.
My point exactly.
I did that on purpose. I like being surrounded by sharp objects. It's cozy. Helps deter squeaky runner syndrome while I sleep on my mattress made exclusively of old springs.
Honey. Listen, this is my house. This is my stuff. I decide what we do with it. I'm throwing it out.
You are absolutely impossible.
I'm taking these.
My receipts, my string, my bug,
And these.
my rags,
God, he has cum rags. I'm getting rid of the thumbtacks.
my homemade acupuncture set.
That feels like a good start.
You're a monster.
You should have gotten rid of everything. Didn't spark joy when you had the chance.
Everything sparks joy for me. Everything except you.
Jerry storms off, slamming his drawer shut before he goes.
Oh, boy. So now what?
Oh, thank goodness. That pile of refuse has been stinking up this neighborhood for far too long.
Alright, sleep well.
Hello again, darling. I really must extend my thanks to you for attempting to deal with Gerald. He can be absolutely impossible.
It's fine, lovely.
The amount of complaints I've received over his collection this month alone. It boggles the mind how a drawer can live like that.
Schlaf gut, Miro. He's acting really
What else is
strange.
new? Listen, kindness is all well and good up to a point. But the fact of the matter is, sometimes what a citizen really needs is a good, swift kick in the baseboards. You can't be everyone's friend all of the time. Heaven knows if you could, it would make my job easier.
True. Yeah, what I could do with all this.
Seems cruel to drop all of it on poor Cameron, but I don't know where else you could.
Let's go talk to Cammy Boy.
Hold on. Some of these items look familiar. Yes. I believe these are actually things that some of the citizenry have reported as missing. That
He's been
pack rat must have
stealing.
picked them up after they lost them.
So I should return them?
Yes, I think so.
Bet.
Here, let me have a look. I should be able to point you in the right direction. Those thumbtacks likely belong to Penelope. Those dirty washcloths need to be cleaned at once. You should see Washford in the laundry room. He'll take... Everything else appears to be... I shall wait here and see to it Jerry doesn't get any ideas about return once you've disposed of those items, or if you need a reminder as Toodle Pip.
Toodle Pip? Damn it, we're gonna have to... Do you think Washford will take my stuff? Do you think Washford's just gonna ignore me, or do you think he's gonna take my stuff? Fuck. I think we've killed that. I hate it. I hate when they hate me and I can't finish somebody else's thing. I love this little guy. Hello piano. Hello logs. Hello sunbooks. Hello globe. Well, not everybody deserves kindness, okay? And I was trying to be nice to Washford. Washford just doesn't like me, and fucking... Fine. Okay, who else do we talk to? I think Lux won't talk to me at all, actually. So I think, like, legitimately, some of them will no longer talk to me.
Oh, look. I don't have time for lampshades like you. Bye.
Yeah. Which cabinet? Okay, this cabinet? The one up here?
A handsome stranger with a model beauty stands just a few feet away from you, posing with a hand in his hair, as though he were in the middle of shooting a perfume ad.
Okay, no, so I didn't mind Lux, but Lux was being bitchy, so I was being bitchy back, and I thought we were just kind of, like, trading shit. And then apparently I pissed off Lux. So, I didn't realize I was going to be pissing him off. Like, you can't blame me when I go to Lux. I'm just like, hey, Lux, like, oh, you're being kind of bitchy? Let me be bitchy back, because we're just a bunch of bitchy queens, aren't we? No. Lux hated that, apparently. They can't take it.
The moment he lays eyes on you, he lights up, drinking you in with a warm smile and warmer gaze.
Why can't I be sassy back? Why can't I be sassy back? Why can't they take the sass?
Ciao, beautiful.
Ciao, bella. Why is he Italian? Admiring you.
Ah, but of course. I am admirable in so many ways.
Oh god, he is Italian.
Tell me specifically, per favore. And then I might do the same for you.
Perché no? Elin, come vai? The jacket, your shoulders, your smile.
You have excellent taste. You are a fresh pasta, a plump, juicy tomato, sweet and salty.
Why? I'm focused.
Tell me, one object of desire to another.
Yes.
But first, I must introduce myself. The music of courtship has its cadence, after all.
Cabrizio.
Only Cabrizio.
Oh my god, I understand his name. This is not like gonna dox me or anything. My mother used to date a man named Fabrizio. I'm just like Fabrizio, Cabrizio. It's just such a fucking stereotypical thing.
Amore.
Oh, because the Italian men also like themselves more than they like you. There are some good Italian men. Oh, nice to meet you too. Tanto combo tutio.
Aye, Daniel Di Nota. What a beautiful effort you're making to speak the language of a new friend.
Hmm.
Now that we are introduced, we must get to know each other, eh? Let us begin with a simple question. Un aperitivo.
Okay, an appetizer.
And so much is contained within your answer. Have a favorite flower?
Shit. I do, in fact.
Ah, tessero bellissimo. Of course you do. A vibrant heart must have a love of nature. Picture it. I will try to guess what it is. I see.
You're gonna get it wrong. He's gonna say rose.
It is a pleasure to me to be inside your eyes, seeing all your nooks and your crannies.
Down boy. I have grannies.
Ah, do you ever, amore? An exquisite.
He didn't guess the flower!
And somewhere buried in one of them. Like
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Treasure waiting to be found.
Come
is
on.
This flower in your mind. I see red. No, not red. Oh, amore, how specific you are. I do see red, and also I see orange, the color of sunset.
If you dare say rose, I'm going to make you hate me.
I see blue, the color of the ocean at night, or the sadness at the bottom of your eyes.
Don't you dare
I
say.
see yellow and pink, the colors of the wings of the lefate, glimmering in the early morning light.
Mm-hmm. I'm keeping my eyes closed, chat. I'm trying to give him a thought. I know it's a video game.
Amore, so powerful is your mind, sending this vision to me. I can even smell this flower. It's a little spicy. It's earthy and yet light.
Wrong.
Smell is such a powerful sense, amore. It is the sense that goes most directly to our memories.
If you say fucking rose.
What a gift you give me, amore, with this aroma. You are thinking your most favorite flower is Uccello di Paradiso, the bird of paradise.
You know what? It's not, but that's a fucking solid flower choice. That is a fucking solid flower choice. I'll fucking give it to him. I'll give it to him. Good flower. Good flower. I don't know if you all have ever seen it, but it is an incredibly cute, cool flower. Not my flower. I like poppies. I mean, that was beautiful, and also... You know what? Fuck it. We'll give it to him.
I know nothing,
He
amore.
didn't say
I know
rose.
only what you show me. I am at your
But
mercy.
poppies are my
Thank you for the gift of
flower.
your favorite flower.
Chicory. I don't think I've seen a chicory. Chicory, chicory, oh, it's so cute. Oh, look at this little guy. I have had the chicory root. Oh, I love it. I can. Poppies are lovely. I think I need a minute. This got intense.
Of course, amore. There is no rush. There is never a rush with things that are
Ironweed.
quality.
Ooh, okay, we need to see this. Ironweed. Oh, I've seen those. Oh, those are cool. I like those. Those are cool
I
too.
can tell you have much quality within you. It would be my pleasure to help you blossom.
Spider lilies, that's
I
also
should
nice.
Tell you also, it may look as though I have something of a hard exterior.
But
I
really,
have
it's just
heard before,
laminate.
though not from lovers, that I can sometimes appear closed. But let me assure you, nothing could be further from the truth.
Mm-hmm.
I am open. I take great pleasure in being so, open to the world, to experience. I am open. Will you grant me another gift?
Sure.
Will you share with me more about
Hi,
yourself?
Siren. How you
What
doing,
do
sweetie?
love? What makes you cry?
Passion
What
flower? I'll have to check it
inspires
out.
your passion?
What inspires my passion? Those are some big questions.
I love the big questions.
Glad you
I
did a
love
little
the small
better.
questions. It is the finding out about each other, sharing your hearts that brings the spice and sweetness to life. Might I
Yes.
suggest that we savor these questions over dinner?
Okay, no, we're gonna take a step back here real quick, chat. This is how you fucking do it. This is how you fucking do it, chat. Now, I know. I said I'm gonna do a whole like dating advice thing one day, but chat, you can tell things hit off, right? There's been some cute, flirty comments. There's been some questions. There's been some like romantic kind of vibes, but there hasn't been like anything too serious. But if you can feel that, where you feel that, hi Tugi, how you doing? Capitalize on it. Any situation like that, shit, I don't know what it is this time. Cement it. Hey, let's go to dinner. Just a fandom alerts? Well, I hope you enjoy your alerts. So yes, chat, that's what you do. Don't don't go like, oh my god, I'm so into you. Be like, oh hey, I think you're cute. I'm like, oh, like we're kind of hitting it off. Do you want to maybe go to dinner sometime? Like actually, like what are you doing tomorrow night? Something soon. Something actionable. And it works. Because like you're establishing this stuff. If you do not be like, hey, I want to do this soon, I want to do this tomorrow, let's have an actual date, then people are gonna go, oh, it's whatever. Doesn't matter. Men, women. And then you marry them and you propose and you doink them on the table at dinner. I don't know. Okay. But seriously, it ain't hard.
Then we have a date.
Absolutely.
Bellissimo. La buona fortuna smiles on me today.
La buona fortuna.
I'll be counting the minutes. I will await your pleasure, amore. Ciao to you for this moment, mia stella nuova. Where you go
My
now,
new
take
star.
with you the passion of Fabrizio.
God, he's fucking 3 other people. Anyway. Because you said we're gonna get like serious really quickly. Also, I think I owe you.
Hello.
Oh, I forgot the coffee. Got these old thumbtacks.
My little tackies. Come here, you prickly little things. Give Jerry my best, would you? I know this is tough for him.
Nightmare.
Hey there, lover.
Oh, hi, sweetie.
Oh God, it sounds so weird outside of my head.
Isn't she adorable?
Just pretend I never said it.
Aw. It's okay, I like it.
Oh, okay, good, because that's what we are, lovers.
She shoots you 2 adorable, if awkward, finger guns.
I can't do finger guns. How am I gonna live with myself? I can't do finger guns. Oh no, that was cute. Ah! Why did that get me? like why did that actually get me? It's fine. Pew pew bang bang. Sorry, it's fine.
Bye.
One day you will teach her that love cannot be quite so awkward. But today is not that day.
I'm fine. I'm manly. I'm masculine. Hi, Mitchie. I'm super like uncaring, and I don't care about. Hey yo. And I'm so much. What the fuck is talking? Stop making noises at me. So macho, chat. No ping bing bong bong is gonna have any effect on me.
Well,
Shit.
I'm not gone forever, so...
Thank God.
I'm thinking we should do a seance.
Yes!
Complete the circle that wasn't complete.
No. If I moan, it sounds more like... Just kidding. I'm not gonna fucking moan, chat. Alright. Let's try it. Damn.
Oh, okay, I really need your help.
Chat, that's what the Patreon's for. Yeah, moans for the months. Exactly. Chat, $20. Give me $1 right now, and you get $1 worth of moan. It's true, chat. You come at me with $1, and I'll give you a $1 worth of moan. It's.
Ah, this is amazing. Okay, we're gonna need a lot of stuff. Well, not a lot of stuff, like a moderate.
I'm kidding. Let's do this.
Mostly, what we need is unstable energy.
Girl, I am hella unstable. I mean, what?
It sounds weird, but I think if we get enough of these objects here, whose existences span the distance between object and idea, it could work. Not cabinets, tables, or toilets, but like weirder stuff. Like me.
Am I unstable? I mean, chat. Dude, we've been through this. We've been through this. You know who I am, where I'm at.
We have to gather them together, and they all have to be on board with what we're doing. Like, we have to all be on the same page, singing the same song kind of thing.
That's right, chat. It's like lobster. Prices are dependent on current market value. I'm a lobster. Why did the music stop? Why did the music stop?
And it should work. This is... Oh my god, I think I'm gonna die. Like, die again. Like, metaphorically from excitement.
It's fine, Hillian. Eventually I will tell you all. If you ask me any questions, I'll answer. With the best honesty as I can. What am I doing? I don't know what voice I'm doing.
You know,
it's fine.
The others here to do that? Honestly,
I mean, I can try. Zoe, I'll go ask around, see what everybody's doing. It's fine. Don't you worry. It's fine. I got
I don't
this.
know why the hell Rudy thought he could contact his dead father with just me.
Gene, do you lobster us? I do. Stop that, Gene said behave.
You're right. Sorry, chat. From now on, it's only going to be this voice. The rest of the stream is this voice exclusively, okay? Does that make you all feel better if I do this voice exclusively? So I think I know some other folks up here who'd be down to help us out. Perfect, and thank you. I think, oh God, chat, this is giving me so much excitement right now. Lobster.
If you need candles, maybe the Scandelabra can help?
Is that one of the objects you can talk to here?
Oh, fuck, she doesn't know anybody. Low-key adorable. Oh, thank you. I mean, I can also sound like this, and then we'll talk like this for a little while. And chat, I'm trying really hard to be entertaining too, and I'm sorry I'm not doing my best, but please don't stop giving me attention. I'll die without it.
Woo, thank you so much for the redeem.
Anyways, where are we? He's at Candelabra.
Well, we don't need a candelabra.
Oh, have I not?
Candles, so I wouldn't worry about him. Oh my god, this is amazing. I will be right here. I'll be waiting right in this exact spot, okay? Thank you! Thank you!
Please, chat, please. I just need attention. It's all I need. And if you don't give me that, then where am I gonna get it from? Okay. Fucking don't make noises at me. Fucking fight you. Give me, let's go. Alright. Yeah, I'll give you attention. Thank you. God, y'all do like twinks. Coffee, speak to me. Damn it. Well, maybe. As a special request, when we do open the Patreon, you'll hear voices done in that voice. Chat, the goal is to be Cottontail. My two types are unstable blonde twinks and tired doves. I mean, gibbets. Oh, I can be really unstable. Why don't you see how unstable I can be? Anyways, we're done. I'm gonna behave myself. Yeah, I guess actually there's a question. Do y'all prefer the quiet, sleepy voice? How do I clip, actually? On the video should be a way to click the clip button. Try it. Let me know. But does somebody want to help them? Also, when the VOD is published, you can always go back and clip later. Now, where was I? But I can go here instead. Deeper in the throat. Hello, Curious Cutie. Hi. Welcome. We're not doing voices. I mean, Hillian, you haven't even seen my demo reel yet. I have a voice acting demo reel. Even though I've only been in one game. But, you know, hey, I've been in one. How you doing, Curious Cutie? What kind of cutie are you? I think I'm lost, actually. Oh, now I remember what I'm supposed to be doing. Yeah, you drop it back here and deeper in the throat. If I wanted to be down here, where it rumbles a bit. That's that one.
You rang?
I have to give you stuff. I have these washcloths for you.
Ah, from Gerald. I had loaned them to him over 12 fortnights ago.
Hmm? Oh, I'm so sorry, Mitchie.
Still need scouring. Thank you for returning these.
Gene, stop. You're making me feel more single. Oh, I'm sorry, sweetie. Take that throaty voice and add that southern drawl. Is that what you wanted? Is this what you're needing, Chad?
I trust he's doing well?
I mean, I can do anything. Trust he's doing well, of course. Because Mitchie's being fucking goofy.
Washford turns from you and begins working on the rags right away.
Keep going, Gene, making me feel less slow. God, y'all haven't heard my, like, truly unhinged. Make him stop? Mitchie, Lieber, warum soll ich das machen? Magst du mich nicht? Was hab ich gemacht? Bitte, Lieber. Brauchst du ein bisschen Hilfe? No, you cannot hear Unhinged. Not here. That will be behind a paywall. Sorry, Echo. Twitch is not the platform for that. And this is a safe space. I want everybody to feel comfortable here. I will be flirty, but I will not go beyond that. Chat, I got distracted. Can you help me? What was I doing? What was I doing? Shit. Have I talked to the store?
The way to the bedroom is through me.
There you go. Okay.
Unless you were completely barking and went the long way through the gymnasium.
Bunny,
doors,
come back.
And then here.
Dorian makes a sound rather like a robot attempting to imitate human laughter.
The very thought of it makes me crack up.
Aha! The very thought of it makes me crack up. Okay, Dorian. What do I have now?
Apologies.
Apologies.
Anything you'd like to know about this room that you don't already know?
Yeah, what are you doing here? Do you want to go grab drinks later? Seems pretty normal when I've seen anyone who I might not find at first.
If you haven't met her, Diana the Diary is a little hard to spot.
Shut up, I forgot all about Diana the Diary. God, she's one of my favorites.
She might look like any old book, but she's one that you authored. You can find her on the dresser.
Is that why she's crazy?
More fool me. What can I do for you?
I guess just checking in.
Enjoy.
Oh, man, no. So I gotta see one of these. You said one of the. Is that one? Or is it that one? Or is it that one? One of these is a glitch. We'll try this one.
Hello there, stranger.
Yay!
Need a helping hand?
Oh, nightmare! What do you... No. Hey, I need more of that. We're not done. We're not done. That was terrifying. I need more of that. Come back.
Diana is fully absorbed in her own endless monologue when you find her again.
Was habt ihr gesagt? Du musst das nicht mehr Deutsch sprechen. But Michi really wants to hear Jane speak more German. Okay. Warum willst du das, Michi? Brauchst du was von mich? Kann ich dich helfen? Bitte, sag, was du brauchst. Entschuldigung, mein Deutsch ist noch nicht so gut. Hello, Skylar. How you doing? How you doing? Dan is fully absorbed in her own endless monologue when you find her again.
Round and round the mulberry tree, round and round the mulberry tree. I ate a mulberry once. Actually, I had them dried in a trail mix with cashews and some cousin to chocolate.
What do you think a cousin to chocolate is?
Then I bought the trail mix at a different store and I chomped down and there was glass in it. Glass falling out of my mouth.
She's talking about dreams.
Have you ever chewed on glass?
Yes.
Finally, her gaze darts over to you. It appears you finally caught her notice.
Oh, there's you there now. Ooh, are you there? Is that
What?
you?
It's me. I missed your good gibberish. Oh, bummer. Still like this. I didn't eat glass. I chewed on glass. It's different.
Where they hang
See?
people. Was a good hanging.
'Twas a good hanging.
I missed a good hanging, chum.
How did I? Did I miss a good hanging?
Full turn of the clock.
I'm sure we can do another one. See? That. Love that.
It's my pleasure to bring a smile to
Fine,
your face.
Hilligan. You can have some of it. I just wanted to have glass. It was just normal glass. Chat, what's weird?
At least I think
Sometimes
it
you just
is.
like the feeling of glass in your mouth,
It gives
okay?
me
It's not...
Everything fades and changes.
Okay, sorry. Do we have to... Okay, so I have an oral fixation. I like feeling things in my mouth. And so every once in a while, I'll just take something that I wonder how it feels and have it in my mouth. And just go, huh? Uh-huh. Yeah. It's normal. Don't... No. Bad Ninks. I don't eat the things. I just put them into my mouth. Oh, no, sorry. That was my my joint bottle, actually. You know what? I was gonna... Well, I mean, I like to put people in my mouth, too. Anyways. A small little bit of cannabis. Oh, thank you for the stretch and the hydrate. Give me a second. I'm just going to stretch. And hydrate. Cheers.
For me, I don't get to change. I'm eternal.
God, I'm jealous of you.
I'm not even a me.
No.
I'm just a collection of words and mess swirling around.
Girl, same.
I am lonely again.
Girl, same.
I guess it's weird. Weird you came back. If you're even really here, which I still don't buy.
You'll afford me eventually.
Do you really want more? Consider yourself warned.
As much as I can hold.
Familiar. Family R. How could that be?
Mm.
Doesn't make sense at all.
God, I'm in love with her.
Are you made up of little pieces too?
Without a doubt.
Do they combine when you're not looking and then bam, suddenly there's a basilisk staring at you down the barrel of her jaw?
Usually it's called panic, but yeah.
Making me bounce on my feet, pal. Jab, jab, cross the boyo.
You're confused. I think I have an answer.
Well, bring it on, Captain Bligh. Captain Blight, blithely unaware, his crew making their mutiny right under his sweaty nose. You've seen that movie, right? I'm your diary.
You are my diary, sweetie. Exactly. Fuck, why do I feel possessive now? Chat, why?
So that's why you've come back. You're looking for that old feeling. You're wanting to write something down, get it off your mind, promise yourself you're going to go back and read it one day and never do. Is it because I'm not funny?
No.
I'm definitely not funny. I've checked. People only laugh when they're walking away, putting me back on the shelf. So they're not laughing with me. They're laughing at something they've taken with them when they leave.
Mine.
You put so much down.
Mine.
You take so much when you go.
Mine.
I'm left with it all. You did. You did this to me? You put that in me? You put that story, that memory. Wait, I'm not that story. That story has been eating away at me, you know, like bleaching coral. Why did you? Why would you? Because I am not you.
I needed a friend.
I was that. I am that. I should be that. Shouldn't a diary be the safest place? Safe, like a fortress with a great moat.
Shit.
Safe, keeping everyone out. So
Now it's being real again, chat.
screaming inside. I'm shouting, I'm bleeding, I'm leaking. And I don't recognize what should be my own blood.
Fuck.
Yes, tell me, tell me! Oh, I feel like I'm nothing if you don't tell me. And then I'm nothing when you do because I don't get to keep any of it.
Fuck.
But I'd never tell. I promise. I promise I'd never mean to. Of course I would! Oh my god. I would try to dam up my mouth, but my apologies for talking would come right out with the rest of it. But I'd be so sorry. I am so sorry. Doesn't that count?
I can tell you're trying.
I'm not trying. If I was really trying, I
Ooh.
wouldn't be this way.
Fuck.
Willpower, if I really cared, wouldn't I be better?
Fuck. Oh, fuck. Oh. Welcome back, Skylar. I'm not trying. If I was really trying, I wouldn't be this way. If I had willpower, if I really cared, wouldn't I be better? Oh, okay, I'm gonna need a moment here. Girl, you did not have to come to my throat like that. Oh boy. No, I gotta write that down, chat. This needs to be written down. Okay. Oh, she's getting brought up in therapy. Oh, God, therapy was yesterday, chat. What am I supposed to hold on? I have to hold on to this for an entire 2 weeks, chat. What am I supposed to do with this during that time?
It must be me being screwed up. There's nobody else here.
Wow.
There's nobody. It's just me. It has to be me. I should be better.
There's nobody. It's just me. It has to be me. I should be better.
You should go, or I should go. One of us should, and hurry. Once you're at the bottom of the rabbit hole, the lights just get dimmer, and then they die.
Once you're at the bottom of the rabbit hole, the lights just get dimmer, and then they die. I've been down before. too. I'm not scared.
Of course you've been down. Where do you think I learned how to do it? You should be scared. I'm scared. Let's be scared.
Yeah, but it's okay to be scared. It is always okay to be scared.
Quickly, quickly! The wind is picking up now.
Wow. Fuck. Yeah, we're going for it. We're just gonna, go slowly. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, Gibbets.
The home for all your coffee needs.
If I hadn't smoked, I would have been, I might have cried on stream in chat, let's be honest.
Kopi gives you an awkward smile, fidgeting with her coffee implements. She keeps looking at you as though she was searching for something.
But it's a good thing I didn't cry, chat. And you don't know that I was going to cry. So everything is okay. Oh, sorry. Happy feelings. Do you know that you can mentally hack yourself, chat? If you get yourself one of these clickers, every time that you're happy, and eventually, when you're feeling sad, you click. Pavlov, train yourself to be happy. Maybe I should do it.
Oh, well, it's, nice to see you too.
Of course, Kelpie.
You're, that's right.
Kopi snaps her fingers, realization striking.
We had a little chat last time, didn't we?
Honey Bunch. Yo, don't tell me you forgot me. Also, your hair is coffee, I just realized. We did.
Well, thanks for coming back. I do appreciate your patronage. We actually have a new drink added to the menu since the last time you came in.
I do, Hillian. But it's good to know that. And chat, you should write that down. When you're at your worst, smile. Just for a bit.
So,
But let yourself know it's also okay to be sad.
what can I get for you today?
Let's try the new drink. Affogato Irish coffee. Yes.
Right. Just, remember that the Irish coffee is going to be a little different.
But it also takes only 4 muscles, potentially a little bit more, to reach out and smack the person causing you issues. Addie, what'd you do?
Make sure you can take your alcohol.
Kopi makes a lovely cup of coffee in her expert way, topping it off with a generous pour of cream. You could smell the alcohol even before she hands it to you.
And there we are. Enjoy.
Therapy stream win.
Is there anything you'd like to know about the Irish coffee?
What exactly makes it an Irish coffee? Is it the racism?
Well, it's just how it's made. You really need to use Irish whiskey. Any other alcohol won't really work.
Fair. Okay, you know what, Kopi? Fair. I'll grant you that one.
Irish whiskey is more smooth and has sort of a hint of vanilla in it. That really makes the coffee shine through.
Sorry. Really, vampire therapist? That sounds fun. What happens if I made it with scotch?
I mean, you could try, but don't let any Irish people hear you. We'll see you next time.
Why would you... Savvy? Savvy, honey. Darling, sweetie, cutie pie. What the fuck? What the fuck? You ever drink Bailey's, Marshu? Do you like me? Do you love me? Do you think you could love me?
Come and give me a little snuggle.
God, she's hot. Okay. I do like a hot toddy.
Your room is dark and cold.
Hi,
Though you may
darling.
have gone to sleep alone, you can feel someone else here.
Oh, aren't you fun?
Nightmare looms over the edge of your bed.
Nightmare, nightmare,
Once
nightmare.
friendly and disquieting.
Is it you again?
Of course. Who else would it be?
Ah, you're back. I've been contemplating what to show you this time. What may unsettle you? Get your blood pumping. This time I think
What you got?
maybe you're speaking in front of an
Boo!
audience.
Boo! Audience speaking is so easy.
Is that scary alone? The thought of being...
Oh? Well, please write it down. Could somebody write down vampire therapist in my stream ideas?
vulnerable in front of so many people.
Addie.
Expecting eyes on you, knowing if you misspeak even once.
Chat, it is so easy to speak in front of people, because all you have to realize is that everything you say is right. You fuck up, you laugh, because now it's a joke.
They
Let's try and keep going. The people in the audience don't exist. They're just faces and ears meant to listen to what I say. But not you, chat. You're special.
They might not even like you, or be able to stand you. Your words tumble out and you start mixing them up. You can feel your heartbeat in your ears. The spotlights on you make you start to sweat. You start to get your lips under control and the words start to flow the way you intended. Then your tongue presses against your front teeth and they give.
Okay, that would be kind of freaky.
One of your teeth slips out of your gum and down onto the podium in front of you.
Yes, Andromeda, I believe so.
You stare in horror. You reach to pick it up, and then
I like her eyes.
a canine tooth drops to your tongue. You let out a petrifying, guttural scream as your own teeth fall loose from your gums. A tickle in your throat makes you cough. The people in the audience gasp, retch, lean back, flee from their seats.
I know, right? The people in the audience gasp, retch, lean back, flee from their seats.
You're coughing up more teeth.
You're coughing up more
They come out
teeth.
of your mouth and into your hands, bloody. Your mouth is just gums now. But the teeth, they're still coming. Tears prickle in your eyes. And you try to apologize to your audience. You realize you're a monster. The teeth clatter to the podium and...
Who do you think you're scaring, Val? Wait, she wants me to be scared, doesn't she? Hey, cut it out.
Did I get you?
The teeth thing freaks me out.
Is that so? Why don't you tell me what really scares you?
We're not ready for the
There
existential
must be
conversation.
something you're hiding away.
Giant titties.
Something a little deeper. A tad more frightening than bugs and blood and teeth.
Big old yitties. Terrifying.
The important thing is, you'll learn from what I show you.
God. You know, they say whatever you're afraid of will come to your life. Yitties. Big old yitties. Very muscular men, or cute ones I can break, and then very busty women, or also very flat-chested.
Don't you want to conquer your fears?
And non-binaries of every flavor.
Your insecurities?
People? God, humans. Fuck yeah. Huh. Actually, you know what? Give me a second. Give me a second. Give me a second. I'm going to think about this. Okay, so hear me out. I've dealt with abandonment before, right? Abandonment, easy. Like it sucks to think about, but you can always come back from abandonment, okay? Failure, it's always thought to me that failure is my issue, right? But it's not failure that really bugs me in this situation. I think mediocrity of kind of just making it. of like being okay, being enough, but like never being exceptional. Because I get told so often various parts of me are exceptional, and I feel like I'm not living up to it. There's always the question, you know, is it me? Would somebody else with the same stuff do better? So mediocrity.
How intriguing.
It's not the failing. I'm fine failing. I can fail over and over and over again, and you can learn from a failure. What if that's all you can do?
Mediocrity can be scarier than failure.
There it is. There it is. Ooh, baby.
Being unremarkable.
Yep.
It's the same as being forgotten, isn't it?
God, chat, my entire life, I've wanted to be weird, to be different, to be out of the ordinary. And when someone's like, oh yeah, no, like, you're not weird. And I'm like, no, don't you dare fucking say that. Let me be weird. Oh, you can easily come back from abandonment. It might be hard at first, but the thing is, there are always more people. There are always more that you can find. And it might suck at the time, and it will hurt. God, it will hurt to be abandoned in that moment. But it gets better.
Nightmare takes a few steps back, beginning to fade
Even
away as
alone,
the
it gets
room
better.
grows lighter. It must be getting close to sunrise.
Thank you for being honest with me. I will have to think about your answer. Good night.
Shit. This is a really good game, chat. You know, this game's great. I love this game. It's so good. It's so good. It's so good, chat. Yeah. And I've definitely struggled with that, Jibbits. I have definitely struggled with that issue. Of viewing myself as worthy. And doing anything I can to make other people give me that worth. But it doesn't work that way. Hello, Boku. How you doing? Anyways, that's... Oof. I'm a streamer. Sorry, I'm supposed to be an entertainer.
With his back to you.
You said, sir. Sir.
To furiously polish something.
Oh, no. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Well, no. Hey. Stop jorking it. Stop jorking it.
Calcium. Parts carbonate.
No. Oh, God. I know he's making like a polishing, but...
Until glistening. Yes.
No.
Oh, take out those solid smears.
Good. How's stream? Did everyone fall for you yet? I don't know, Boku. Have you fallen for me?
Effulge! Effulge!
I don't want to be here.
He sets the cloth down on the table, delicately wiping his brow before finally turning.
Did you just...
Nation! Do you even knock human?
Keep going. Keep going. Oh, God. Ah! Chat 1 or 2. I'm going to open my eyes. Whichever one I see first is the one we're doing, okay? 3, 2, 1. Fuck.
Oh, how dare you! The polishing of my knob is a sacred art. Only the most panegyrical of acolytes are allowed to know of my backstairs ministrations.
Don't call it that!
And you are not that. I know not what you are. My inquest said... Well, you've come to see me, eh? Must be for my brilliant shine, which is what I was doing.
I didn't see anything, I swear.
I am made of the purest silver. Born in a small chandler's hut in the Swiss village of Saint-Martin, I have traveled transatlantically
God.
to this abode, where I require a great deal of polishing and care, which you do not do.
I'm sorry I don't polish your candle
So
enough.
I'm forced to self-lubricate.
They're not hiding it. I'm sorry I don't polish you. You deserve better.
I am Argentum. All my atoms are singular, rigid, upright, of good stock. One of the ancient metals, friend of humans since time immemorial.
He was jorking it.
And most importantly, I am chaste.
Jacking off does not count as being chaste. That does sound impotent. I mean, important.
I perch aloft this dining able, surveying the better part of the kitchen, living room, and the
It's okay, Andromeda.
As I gaze into that wall, sometimes I am gripped with the fiercest ennui imaginable. Do try it sometime. It's rather addictive.
He's jorking it, looking at a wall and feeling ennui.
These other objets, these rottish roustabouts.
What the fuck?
You cannot imagine.
What the Oh, I can imagine, all right.
How would one of your kind possibly know?
I've fallen in love with one.
Oh, no, it cannot be.
More than one, even.
Oh, you're making me ejaculate.
No!
I exclaim, bellow, ululate, no! Such a scandal cannot stand. Having told you my story, I must away. Regards, S.
Well, chat. It has been 2 hours and 8 minutes, and you know what that means, chat? You know what that means. Well, coming up on the end of stream here. You know, I suppose I should start doing a little bit of like a just chatting thing right at the end of stream to hang out with y'all for a little bit before we tarry off somewhere. So should we start doing that? Yeah, we'll start doing a little just chatting at the end to kind of like vibe off so that y'all we'll do like a little 15-minute just chatting. And that way we can like we can chill back, we can connect again. Let's you know, I'm gonna start doing that. We can't do it in the morning, cause you know, in the mornings I have to work and everything. But like, we'll do a little wind down. I'm sorry, VO. Sorry, VO. All right, 1 second. We're swapping to just chatting here. Let me pull up the. I kind of actually like the music from the game. How do y'all feel about the music from the game? It's kind of it's pretty like attentive, if that's the right word. You know what I mean? Like, it's so casual. Like I could just have this playing in the back. You know what it is? It's elevator music. It's straight up elevator music. Yeah, they Jivets. Doom 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 doom. We need something like this. We need something like this for the end of stream. But yeah, so y'all have a good time. Y'all enjoy the game. And I always want to check in with you. I know things got a bit like dramatic at some points. Here we go. But, like, I think it was a lot of fun. Oh, I'm sorry. Aiko. But yeah, no, the game was a lot of fun, and I feel, I don't know, you know, sometimes I'm thinking about streaming, and I'm like, am I doing enough? Is stream going well? But one of these days where, like, I feel, like, engaged the entire time, I get to talk to all of you, it's nice. Chat, what was your favorite part? What part of the game did you like the most? Anyone? Did you have a favorite person we were flirting with? Or did you just like me getting really, really emotional? The clicker? God, what's with you and the clicker? Diana. Oh, God, Diana was so cool. Diana is so cool. I don't know what it is about like that crazy personality thing, but I mean, Also, like, you know, when I was a teenage boy, my favorite character was Deadpool. So, I hate that the washing machine is disappointing. No, can we like mention that? Like the washing machine, I don't know what I did. You're fine, Savvy. I'm just fucking with you. I don't know what I did. I thought I was doing everything perfect, and then suddenly he comes with and I hate you. And I'm just like, fuck. What did I do? I was genuinely distraught. Like Lux, I was a bit like frustrated that I didn't know what was happening, but I'm like, okay, I was kind of bitchy, and it sucks that I miss out on part of the story now. But like the washing machine, where it's just like, fuck you. I'm like, my old man Yowie, Capriccio is hot. Capriccio is hot. I like saying Capriccio. I like nightmares. Chat, okay, this might be awkward. So you know the term monster fucker, right? Why is it always bottoming for monsters? Like, what if I want to top a monster? Is it still monster fucking? Because, like, I love the idea of breaking a horror, you know? Why do I have to be? Why is it always a bottoming thing, huh? Cut me out. You're right. I need to behave myself. But it's just thinking about it. Like I don't know why this was coming up today. Like in my mind. But like it's always the reverse. And because there's monsters in this game, chat. It's monsters in this game. There needs to be more verse switch monster doinking. Exactly. And like it's a horror beyond like comprehension sometimes. Like it's always on top physically in like the food chain. So maybe it wants to give up control. I get it. Exactly. Maybe the werewolf wants to feel like less of a beast. Like less of a monster. Valid. Hello, Miss Oreo Freak. You know, that checks out. That checks out. Even the top dog needs to be at bottom sometimes. It just makes sense to me. It makes sense to me. And I hate that it isn't explored enough. Hashtag monster doinking switches. This is going to be on the Hear Me Out cake, isn't it? I know there's monsters on that Hear Me Out cake. I also know somebody put a car, and not even like a fancy car, like a normal car in the Hear Me Out cake. I don't know if this is a fetish. I don't know if it's like a legitimate Hear Me Out. But it'll be interesting. I'm excited to do the cake. Mm-hmm. You know, some people like to doink cars. No problem there. Definitely monsters. Oh, there's 100% monsters on there. I know there's monsters on there. Chat, that is the point of a Hear Me Out cake, is to see the craziest monsters. Oh, Nix, I'll personally send it to you. Sexy stick shift. But how you doing, Miss Oreo? Thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate it. Okay. Nice little wind down. I think we'll have a few more minutes here. Also, Aiko, thank you so much for doing the art, by the way. I'm really enjoying the character that you're drawing for me. I think it's going to be very, very cool in the future when we can actually use it. Bite me, Pop. Thank you for the hydrate. Cheers. Okay. How are we feeling? We good? We loosened up a little bit? We're back into the normal world? I don't want to go from, instantly. Just a little reminder. The Hear Me Out cake is going to be our Saturday community night. I don't think I will see it. I mean, some people have their name attached, some of them don't. And then on Sunday, we're still doing media share. So if you haven't submitted your media share, please post it up in the Discord. And, Oh, and mod applications are due by Sunday. I will be reviewing them this weekend. And we'll be choosing them Monday and Tuesday and doing a little announcement. If you don't get selected, it's nothing personal. It is simply the not connection, the experience or whatever of why I picked them. Some people I think are just going to be even better viewers than they will be moderators. Because a moderator is going to have to do the job, while a viewer I still get to interact with. Oh, my daily drop in for a few seconds before the spring. How are you doing? I'm doing great. We're actually about to end stream, so perfect time. Yes, the mods will have to deal with me. And I know there's so many very qualified people who have applied. It will not be gangs. You know that's not true. But yes, it will be nothing personal. Just so many very qualified applicants. Okay, let's see who we can raid into. Let's not do Valorant. Borderlands, 2K partners, kind of cool. Goblin Fee is doing Hollow Knight. Porcelain Maid, we raided into them the other day. Calypsy. That's because we're going to be dropping everything else soon. You know, Calypsy raided into us yesterday. We're going to go raid back into Calypsy, okay? So you all be good. Say hello for me. And I'll be around, lovelies. Thank you. Thank you for winding down and hanging out with me today. I had so much fun. And thank you for that raid message, Aura. Please copy and paste it. Copy it. Get ready. We're going to be going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.